Hey, welcome back everyone to the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. This is the edition for Tuesday evening, December the 3rd, 2019. Just a few weeks left in the year. Hard to believe, but certainly it's been a pretty eventful 2019. And later this month, towards the end of the year, we'll be doing a full recap of the weather events that impacted the Mahoning and Shenango valleys this year. Not much impacted us today other than clouds and cold. It was not the most eventful day temperature-wise. It was either 30, 31, or 32 every hour since midnight, and tonight will be very similar. Temperatures will not vary. Overnight tonight, generally hovering between 30 and 32 degrees. Now this morning, as we talked about last night on this video, we did have just a little glaze that made for a few slick spots on bridges, overpasses, and on some windshields as well. There were a few snowflakes mixed in, and then it was just a sea of clouds for a lot of the day. Now late in the afternoon, early this evening, as expected, some light snow and flurries pushing through. This is not amounting to much of anything. Some dustings on windshields. That is about it. Road temperatures are above freezing across the board. These are actual sensors that we have access to, that we can tell you the road temperatures in some major thoroughfares throughout the region. So I'm not expecting any sort of impacts from this weak little band of snow early this evening. Actually, the weather's pretty quiet across a lot of the country this evening, including just about all of the middle of the continental U.S. Our next weather maker actually doesn't look like much right now. It's up here across the U.S.-Canadian border, up towards International Falls, Minnesota, and this is what's going to track our way tomorrow. We kind of designate this as a trough of low pressure. A dashed black line usually is how this is drawn on a weather map. Not quite a cold front. There's really no air mass change with this, but it is enough to instigate some precipitation a lot of times, and that'll be the case as we get into the midday and especially into the afternoon hours tomorrow. So between 11 a.m., 1, 2 p.m., I'm expecting a few flurries to get going. This will be nothing all that impactful initially. I think through the daylight hours, through about 5 p.m. tomorrow, everything should just be a little bit damp. But as we get past sunset tomorrow evening, I can't rule out a few slick spots trying to develop. If you get under a heavier snow band, there could be a couple of very brief, decent snow showers with decent snowfall rates, but it'll be pretty brief. This is not a real pronounced snow squall situation tomorrow, so impacts will be pretty low. Maybe after sunset a few slick spots will develop, and any accumulations will be primarily on the grass and non-paved surfaces through the daylight hours tomorrow. Tomorrow night, again, a few secondary roads, untreated surfaces might have a small accumulation, but when we're talking about actual measurements here, we're going to be under an inch just about everywhere, with some exceptions possibly, with a little lake enhancement northern eastern Mercer County, and perhaps up towards Kinsman and Trumbull County. Someone in those zones might see more than an inch, at most an inch and a half to 2, but that'll be the exception, not the rule. Most of us will be kind of a trace to, at most, an inch worth of snow. So, in the grand scheme of things, we'll have much more impactful events this winter, but still take it a little easy, especially late in the day tomorrow. Now, one more little disturbance is going to track our way later Thursday. Thursday could start out with a flurry, but late Thursday night, a couple of additional flurries. Our model's not even really picking up on much with this, maybe a couple of rain showers. And then Friday, a sprinkle or a flurry here and there. That'll about do it. And that'll about do it for our cloudy stretch. I think as this high finally builds in on Saturday, we're finally going to see a decently sunny day. It's still going to be chilly on Saturday, but, it'll be a good day to go on the lookout for your perfect Christmas tree or put up those holiday decorations. I think Sunday will also be pretty good for doing anything outdoors. 21 WFMJ, once again this year, the proud media sponsor of the holiday parade and tree lighting in downtown Youngstown Friday evening. Derek Steyer will be emceeing that as usual. And the parade kicks off around 6 o'clock, and the tree lighting is usually around 7:30 with fireworks to follow from the Covelli Center. Bundle up, it's going to be cold, but non-impactful weather. We're not expecting any sort of travel issues getting into and out of downtown Youngstown. Maybe there's a flurry. That should about do it. We do have some changes to talk about in the longer range. Last evening I talked about how in the 6 to 10 day outlook, we're not looking at much Arctic air on the playing field. Well, over the last 24 hours, the models have started to pick up on a brief but maybe somewhat potent cold shot middle of next week. You're going to see that on this animation as I roll this forward. Nice warm-up for late in the weekend, early next week, 50 or so Sunday and Monday. But then as we go towards the middle of next week, our little lobe of the polar vortex will pivot or wiggle down out of northern parts of Canada and center itself over Hudson Bay. And this will allow some Arctic air to penetrate down into the central and eastern U.S., Now, this will not be a historic cold shot by any stretch of the imagination. This is not going to be record producing. It's not even going to be all that noteworthy by midwinter standards, but it is going to be the coldest air we've seen probably in a couple of weeks or a few weeks since we had that brief, pretty severe cold shot in the middle of November. So I think what we're looking at from a sensible weather standpoint is probably a day or two next week where temperatures fail to get above freezing, a couple of days where highs will be in the 20s. Again, we see that all the time in the winter, but it is a little bit noteworthy because it has not been severely cold recently, and it is a little bit of a change for the longer range thinking. So yesterday's 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center had a whole bunch of orange on it. Today it shows those blues sneaking down into the Midwest and into the Great Lakes states as well. All right, speaking of winter weather, coming up on Thursday on 21 News at 6 and 11, and here on Weather for Weather Geeks, I'll be doing a brief update to our 2019-2020 winter forecast. Of course, the original forecast, the online version, was something like 15 minutes or whatever it was. This will not be that long. This will just be a kind of a brief update to the ideas that we put out about a month ago. Some years we have to make some significant changes as the winter patterns begin to show their hand a little bit. Some years we don't have to change much, but I always like to do a little bit of a quick update during the first week of December. We're now into meteorological winter, so it makes sense to make sure the forecast is on track and not continue to go out with a forecast that no longer makes any sense. Sometimes you got to, pull up the stakes and make a few changes. So we'll see how my thoughts evolve over the next couple of days, as we'll be getting some fresh long-range model data in over the next couple of days, and we'll see if that jives with our winter forecast or not, and bring you that update on Thursday. Thanks for checking out tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. Appreciate you watching, and have a great rest of your Tuesday night.